Hello and welcome to another Royally Rich Lifestyle show with me, Ian Pelham Turner. Helena Chard is on a different camera today, and so she'll be joining us again shortly. And so let's
Hey.
roll the titles and move on with the show. Well, Miss Chard is now beside me, but she's not. She's in a totally
Hello.
different studio this afternoon. It looks very good
Good
as
to
well, very
see you.
swish. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very good. Sorry I can't be in the studio, but hey, this is good, isn't it? We can still do our news and everything's
Absolutely,
tickety-boo. Shall
absolutely.
we start?
So let's start. So you've got some very exciting news, I know, this week again. So let's hear what is going on.
So this is just a little bit of a royal roundup. So just starting with Prince William, lovely Prince William, we've seen him in Aberdeen in Scotland for his Homewards campaign to eradicate homelessness in the UK. And the Princess of Wales was also spotted. I think they were both spotted. So she was spotted in Aberdeen, and everyone was thinking, what's she doing there? But she'd actually taken a few days away, I think, from the children to spend some nice time in the evening with her husband. They were spotted at Crathy Kirk, I think that's the name of the church there. So that was lovely. Also, Prince William has announced the 15 Earthshot winners. That's the finalists for the 2024 shared mission to repair and restore our planet. As we know, the awards ceremony is taking place in South Africa in November. So looking forward to that. And also the SAS, a special meeting he went to, he's speaking to the Special Forces unit, so we have no idea what he was talking about. But it was quite exciting. Otherwise, we'd all be shot.
He was probably talking about how to produce protection for his brother. Do you think?
Oh yeah, it could maybe that was a good one. Hadn't entered my mind, but I think you could be right. And also the Princess of Wales. I mean, lots to sort of hurrah for her because she's been obviously working, which is great. We saw her
Yeah.
with her
And
round
she's
table thing in
smiling
Windsor.
again now, which is great, isn't it?
She is, and the court. She's on the court circular. We were surprised to see that she was doing another meeting in Windsor, and it wasn't just about her early childhood project. It was her wonderful concert that we all look forward to, her Christmas Carol concert. So they were talking about it. This was yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think, she was with her team, and obviously a lot of work goes into that. But it's one of the highlights of the royal calendar, and I'm so pleased. It just shows that she's moving forward, sort of slowly and steadily. So we're excited about that. She's feeling well. Everyone's saying as well, is she going to come back? Is she going to be working full time? But obviously, she said she has to take day by day,
Yeah.
and it's a slow return. And not to forget, she's got her young family and also future king of the UK and the Commonwealth to look after. So
Absolutely.
anyway, so good to see her out and about.
Absolutely.
Um, We'll move on to Prince Andrew, naughty Prince Andrew. What do you do with a problem like Prince Andrew? I don't know. Anyway, so obviously a very royal scandal is out, and Prince Andrew it's a real merciless portrayal of Prince Andrew. He has broken his cover though, and he's sort of saying that he's sort of pleased in a way it's sunk without trace. I'm not quite sure if that's the case, but it's a completely dramatised series. It started September 19th, so just a few days ago, and it's obviously the disastrous 2019 News Night interview, and he really is portrayed as foul-mouthed, arrogant, etc. Taken from Emily Maitlis, it's her stance on it. So pretty
Yeah.
brutal, but and Michael Sheen brilliant. One good thing though, it does show Beatrice and Eugenie, how he's a good father to them. And I think now he just needs to move out of Royal Lodge.
Well,
Um,
he'll probably need a stick of dynamite to do that, but
I
we'll
think
see.
you're right. I think he's been shown in this bombastic sort of self-importance way, and now if he was to just give up the Royal Lodge, I think people would be a little bit more sympathetic. But anyway, And also funny to read as well that they were thinking of an alternative home for him, but that has been canned now. So and it was Fergie, so Sarah Ferguson, who made this call. So the alternative residence was Sarah Ferguson's townhouse in Belgravia, which is a stone throw away from the palace. 4.25 million, and it would have obviously brought in quite a bit of money if you think about it. No. Obviously, they're not going to rent it, though, are they? So he is not going to be moving in there. He needs to relocate to a smaller property, as we have said. But also, it's not Sarah Ferguson's property. I do think it's the daughter's investment property. So all a bit silly. So we need to move on to another player.
Do you know, I think at the same time, in all reality, he's got to find somewhere to live. Staying, at the Royal Lodge, I mean, it's going to cost millions anyway. I think King Charles wants William and Kate to move there at the same time, and I suppose he's turned down Frogmore Cottage, the former home of Harry and Meghan. So unfortunately, he's running out of choices. And I think from what we were talking about before in the past is that, a lot other things like his security may be taken away from him as well by King Charles. I think he has to make a move for himself as well.
I think his security is being taken away this month, so I believe. And I don't think they're the best of brothers, as in there's no love lost there between them. So I think he needs to think seriously because, what's going to happen? But anyway, enough of Prince Andrew. We shall move on to, so the National Portrait Gallery, as we know, in central London, beautiful, fantastic, free to enter. It's always lovely to go in and see the photographs. Fantastic place to visit. So we have just been updated, which is something which is a bit of a major blow to Harry and Meghan, that the photograph that was supposedly going to be hanging in the gallery of them, it's one which was taken, I think, from One Young World Summit. It's a black and white picture. It was taken by Miss Anne Harriman, and it had been accepted by the gallery, I think, but they are not going to be hanging it. I actually think, well, never mind. They do have an online catalogue anyway, and I'm sure it will be accessible that way. I don't know what you think about it.
It's surprising, though, really, because obviously Catherine, I think, is one of the patrons of National Portrait Gallery as well. So you would have thought that she would have stuck up for that picture to have it used.
She has no say, apparently, over what is added to the collection. That's what's been said. So it's not down to her, but I'm sure there's probably other pictures of them in there, and who knows, in the future, possibly in the future. But there's a lot about Harry and Meghan at the moment, and the wonderful Philip Sykes, I'm sure, will be given some advice shortly, because as we know, there is a slight team problem, their mass exodus of staff, etc., and there's a lot going on at the moment with negative press, which they call the Streisand effect. Apparently, there was a case that Barbara Streisand, she didn't want a photograph shown, and it became such a big thing that in the end, this photograph was so famous because it was a fight about not showing it. And it's what's going on at the moment, with the Hollywood Reporter talking about Meghan and Dictator in Heels, and now there's another Us Weekly magazine that's coming, which is Dan Wakeford, who's a friend of Meghan's, and it's sort of turning into this fisticuffs. But actually, it comes down to getting along, sometimes ignoring it, moving forward, and teamwork.
I just think sometimes lay off the two of them, because but basically at the moment, if we're trying to get them back, and I think the whole of Britain would like to see them back, and they would like to see a united royal family, all this tittle-tattle, coming from both sides right now, it doesn't do the royal family, I think, any good at all. And when it comes to negative press in America, quite honestly, when I analyse what's going on in America as well for politics, I wouldn't take a really strong view from the Hollywood Reporter or anyone else that they know exactly what's going on either. So I just think lay off Harry and Meghan at the moment. Let's try and bring them back, and let's try and unite the royal family. That's my take.
I think reuniting sounds a good idea, but I think there needs to be lots of things number one, they have to want to reunite as well. That's the biggest thing, because you have to play ball if you're going to be a team, I would guess. I mean, there's lots of things going on, and I don't know, I always say it, we're human, we're fickle, we always want to hear what's going on. So anyway, we wish everyone the best of luck. This is something that tickled me slightly. It's only small, but this is to do with change of royal protocol. So King Charles, Queen Camilla, they've got their up and coming tour, which is to Australia and Samoa, which is very exciting. That's coming up in October. But they will not be using the word walkabout now, which it sounds very basic, I realise. But it's new wording now, which they have to say, which is it's an opportunity to meet the public. When referring to meeting royal watchers, it's something very small, but apparently, obviously, it's very, as my earbuds keep falling out, it's something that we're used to listening to, hearing those words, but it's to ensure sensitivity towards the Aboriginal community, who use that actual word as walkabout as a rite of passage.
All right.
Which I find quite interesting.
I mean, again, I still think Charles needs to be very careful about meeting crowds anyway, because he's still undergoing therapy, cancer therapy, and I just think, it's taken a huge risk doing all these things anyway, and going on such a long journey as well. He obviously wants to do it, and and I hope it's a great success for the two of them. But he's just being careful at the same time. I mean, he's older than me, and some days I feel very crockety, these days. So, in reality, I just hope he remains in good health and they enjoy the trip at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's got a good team around him, and I think the actual tour has been worked around him, so it's not been taken lightly. So hopefully, do you remember Prince Philip's gaffes? The reason I mention it is he once said to an indigenous group, "Do you still throw spears at each other?" Oh, but that was to an Indigenous Australian entrepreneur, but it's tongue in cheek, actually, and it was taken out of context because he was watching some kind of, a show that they were doing. So
he used to do all sorts of gaffes, Prince Philip. He once described Chinese as slitty-eyed people. So wow. In some ways, his gaffes were.
That's not so famous. Funny. That's not so funny, but I think the other one was.
Anyway.
And I think we'll end on James Middleton, who, absolutely, as we know, is Princess Catherine's brother. Lovely, lovely guy, I have to say. So he was talking about his awkward royal protocol. He had a blunder when he was hurriedly rushing to meet the late Queen. It was the first time him and Pippa were racing along. This is actually from a new book that he's bringing out, Meet Ella, the Dog Who Saved My Life. But it is about the dog. It is about him. It is about his family, the royal family, and lots of lovely little stories. So it's a really great read. But on this particular situation, he'd been rehearsing, without going into it too much. He was travelling all the way, driving to Norfolk. He'd been rehearsing his lines completely and muttering, so Your Majesty is obviously for the Queen, and Your Royal Highness for the Duke of Edinburgh. And he sort of raced in a blind panic, and he blurted out, he was wearing all these crumpled outfits, which he was upset, and he couldn't find a cufflink. And he said, "I'm so sorry we're late, Your Royal Majesty." So he sort of mixed them both together.
Oh, wow. Everyone
had a little chortle. But one thing that I think is fun with it, the idea of the book obviously is his dog Ella saved his life. He was very deeply depressed, and although he thought he was looking after Ella, later on in life he realised Ella actually was looking after him. And it's a beautiful story. He's great friends with the Prince of Wales, a great brother-in-law. But just to finish on one thing, Racing Demons. Now, this is a card game that they all play, and it's really competitive. Every time Prince William hears they're about to play it, he used to take Ella for a walk. It was just a really sweet thing. So there we go. That's my royal roundup.
Great stuff. Well, We're just going to
So
take a short break
interested.
now, and then we can have some videos, some royal videos as well. Stay tuned.
Outside the outdoor event.
This is your nice little spot right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Find it okay?
Yes, all very well, thanks. Easy for me. Very good. How have things been up there? Busy? Busy? Yeah, very busy. That's good. Busy's good, exactly, yeah. Last thing, I've brought a bit of nice weather for me today. So
Appreciate it.
Welcome, we needed. Nice to meet you.
And how big's your reach? Do you just do Aberdeen or you?
To the whole of the north,
The whole of the
from
north.
Dundee up, we can. But our focus is mainly in Aberdeen, Dundee. That's
Managing homelessness to prevention. That's what we're trying to help that shift. So once we get these action plans come out by Christmas, and then have something done with it each area we've got. And I think yours going to be quite specific on family breakdown, is it? Relationships, things like that.
yeah, in the council. So the more rural, the further up, we maybe don't have the direct contact, so we can just phone up.
Just wanted to show you our photo wall. So this is part of our work that we did with those with lived experience of homelessness, the person who is homeless, and allowing them an opportunity also to tell their stories in their way. And she spent 2 years working with the various individuals through the various, obviously the start of the pandemic, so it was a very different environment at that point.
Deconstructed his car and recently and turned it into work afterwards. We stood inside it talking about how we did it. And I thought it was it was incredible. The vision to do that and talk about it to everyone was amazing.
Yeah.
So it is a good way of sort of highlighting and visualising the thing when you hear from the individuals, and it's very powerful.
The photographer herself, the journey she went on from the project, she thought she was going to undertake. Bring you over to meet us if you were hello, nice to meet you. I'm Christy.
I recognise you from the photos.
My mental health is confinement,
Was there nothing in prison for you to get released to lead you towards being released?
because I was in when COVID kicked off, every evening I would trip down anyway, people stopped and then we got
The difference is now you put passing into the family.
Yeah.
That annoying uncle.
But it shows that everyone needs to feel belong, that they need to feel like they belong somewhere and cared for. We change this so that we both, everyone gets to you earlier. That's rather than managing the homelessness, we need to move to prevention. Because then also your mental health gets saved because we get to you earlier. Your addiction doesn't happen because we get to you earlier. More than you do. You made it sound easy, and I know it's not.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah,
everyone in here
absolutely.
knows. There's a lot of hard work gone into that.
Right, do you want to?
You don't have to. There's no pressure. This is you tell me what you want to tell me. There's nothing.
So I presented homeless.
So that was some tremendous videos and some tremendous film of the royal family. And now Helena comes back again, and with our great friend Philip Sykes. Welcome to the two of you.
Welcome. Hello. So good to see you. So good to see Philip.
Lovely to see all of you both.
Excellent.
Great to see you.
So Philip,
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. So Philip, but basically, obviously, as you know, part of your work is building teams, building team spirit, and creating, the types of rules, regulations that make a great team in the first place. And so, we look at the royal family at the moment, and I'm not going to ask you for 1 second to suggest how you deal with the royal family. But if you were to give just some general advice on the royal subject of how to bring people back together again, what would it be?
That's a very great, wonderful question. And I think this is something the way to do things. So in other words, one of the things that we focus on at the British School of Excellence is teaching people that, for example, Helena, you have a certain way that you like to be dealt with. Now, I don't know you. Do unto others as you wish to do unto them or unto yourself. But you need to elevate to the platinum rule and treat people the way they like to be treated, and then you can go back to being you. And I think that's a quintessential tool here. We call that the platinum rule. And, this boils down to being under an umbrella of great communication, patience, definitely your emotional intelligence, understanding that we're all very different and we have to sort of relate to one another in different scenarios, different temperaments and that sort of thing. And also the one thing it really is to take into account is when we get to know people it's also the ability to know when to have certain conversations with them, because if you are fully engaged with something that's putting a lot of pressure on you and someone tries to have a conversation with you or connect with you, it's going to be very different and difficult to connect with that individual. And one other point here that I want to share with us is there's an amazing book written by Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages. And this is really, really sort of going again into your psychology, but also into the emotional intelligence side of things. When we sort of understand one another's love languages, we can connect on a far more dynamic level.
Helena.
Lovely. Keeping on the same track, Philip, and this in a way relates to team problems, and in fact I'm speaking about Prince Harry and Meghan in a sense that we've heard that there's been a mass exodus really of they've lost so many different staff over quite a relatively short period of time. So then it made me think, well, obviously, for a business or a company or whatever it is to work, there has to be cohesion. I mean, there must be sort of slight rules in the sense that if you're working, I don't know, you've got to, everybody has to work together. So there has to be an understanding, I would think. So how do you advise in that respect? For instance, you may have someone that's maybe not keeping to the right things and it's causing a disconnect.
Yeah, I love that question. And that boils down, Helena, to, hear me correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. So that boils down very much to understanding leadership and connecting with one another is building and growing people. It's being able, the ability to pull people aside and say, look, it's what we might call the sandwich approach. Talk about something positive, but then bring in the real fundamental aspect or issue that you're dealing with and finish off on a more positive. And again, this boils down to empathy. I think this is something, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. That's one thing. I appreciate that cliche. But, understanding how you connect with people. And this goes back to, funny enough, personality traits. So if you've got a dominant person versus, let's say, someone who's more compliant and more steady, those two need to understand each other's sort of how to communicate and connect with each other. Because if you don't, there is going to be a sort of head-on collision somewhere along the line. And something else, how are people in a management's position treating the team that they employ? Are they being kind? Are they being thoughtful? Are they trying to build and grow people, or are they being dictators and trying to lead with a sort of a rod of iron? Those are the aspects to take into account.
Okay, Philip. Just one last question, because I'm not sure your connection is too good today. So first of all, how can people get in contact with you? And where are you at the moment?
I'm doing some work over in the USA at the moment, so I'm here for a short period, and then I'll be back in the UK, hopefully well, I say hopefully, we're actually not far from where the hurricane is meant to be sort of coming through, but I do believe we're in an area of reasonable safety. So, yeah, the BritishSchoolOfExcellence.com. We love connecting and engaging with people all over the world. We are running our Train the Trainer in November live in London. We have the Polished Professional, which is an outstanding program for anyone who wants to sort of really get ahead in their careers, their entrepreneurial circle. Please engage with us. We love talking.
Excellent, Philip. Thank you. We'll have a great time again, and be careful with that hurricane.
Thank you both very much. Bye-bye.
Take care now.
Bye.
Well, Helena, that was another great show today, and we've just got a few seconds just to sign off now. So, any last thoughts?
Oh goodness! No, I always love hearing these nuggets that Philip gives us, and quite interesting just hearing how teams work together. And actually, something that I would have liked to have asked him, that obviously you have to have the right person for the right role, don't you?
Yep. Absolutely. Well,
and that's
he'll be back next week. We can do that. Okay, so for me, Ian Pelham Turner.
And for me, Helena Chard, doing it in a different way.
Can I thank Helena Castrati, as always, on ALB UK TV, and also Dr. Jacqueline Kerback for USA Global TV and Radio as well. So stay tuned, stay happy, and we will see you again soon.
Take care.